In this tutorial, we are practically going to know about CSS3 keyframe animation and everything with respect to it, such as how to use it and how to deploy all these codes. Hello and welcome to another new episode of Learning Simplified. In this tutorial, we are practically going to understand about keyframe animation widely used in CSS3. From now on, whenever we will be trying to discuss on CSS3 related versions or keyframe animations or any other stuff, then we will be probably use HTML5 syntaxes along with this. So I won't be going in details into this matter because we are practically discussing on CSS3 keyframe animation, and HTML5 is an entire different version, entire different subject to discuss on. So right now what we are doing, we are using the old school thing over here. As we can see that this is the div that we are using as we have used in our previous cases. But if you look into the header part of this HTML page, you may see that there's a little bit of change over here. So this is the syntaxes, this is the codex that has been used in this case, and this implies the declaration of an HTML5 element. So with the declaration of this doc type HTML, we are practically declaring that this HTML page, it is practically using the version of HTML5. And if you see into the second para of this syntax, you may see that this is the language attribute which has been specified in HTML, which is English in this case. Then there comes the header part, and the stuff that you can see over here commented out is practically the IE hack code. That means this hack code will be helping in rendering the page in your browser. And the rest of thing goes the same. There's no change in it. You are introducing this title part, you are introducing the linking with the stylesheet.css, and then you are closing this head part. So rest of the thing goes well. So keep this in your mind that if you are using the HTML5 stuff over here, then what you need to do, you need to declare this thing as you can see over here. This is the doc type that you are declaring over here, which is HTML, and the HTML language here used is EN, that means English. And this is the hack code that will help you to render this page into your browser. So this is the basic thing. Now if we look into our project, this is practically a very small box that is coming down from the above, descending down from the above, and it is changing its background color property and its width property. And there goes the other stuff. This is practically a ball, and this is not changing the background, but this is changing the rotate position. This is changing its initial position. It is going to extreme right from the left, then it is descending down, and then it is going back to its previous position again. Now before doing that, we need to know what is this keyframe animation and how does the syntax work over here. This is practically the syntax that we are talking about. This @keyframes syntax here practically is being used to introduce gradual changes in attributes or style properties for a given time period and over one keyframe to another. So what is this keyframe? Keyframe is actually the nodal point that determines what will be the final output of the element after changing all its styling properties into that particular position. And this at the rate of keyframes here, it is practically ensuring that these gradual changes does occur in attributes or style properties for a given period of time. And then comes, you may see here that this is the keyframes. First of all, we are declaring this syntax as the keyframes. Here comes the keyframes over here. Then comes the animation name. So what is this animation name? Animation name is the name given to a particular animation, and this name is provided to the element where these gradual changes will be observed into. Next comes the keyframes over here. Keyframe selector. It actually defines the percentage of the animation duration and CSS style. So of course you need to mention it over here. What changes do you want to see in your styling attributes or properties? So these are the things that we will be observing over here. So let's get back to our coding and see what is happening over there. This is practically the index.html where we are calling all those elements in and the elements, those will be displayed. And this is the stylesheet.css, where we will be attributing those properties and all those changes that will be taking part into. So these things will be taken into account, so we need to mention these properties over here. As we can see that in the index.html there is a class which is known as diver. So all we need to do, we need to name this selector name over here. We need to mention its styling properties, styling attributes, and as we can see that the width of this diver element is 100 pixels, height is 100 pixels. Whereas I have set this margin into 20 pixels auto. That means from the top it will be leaving a margin of 20 pixels, and from both the sides it will be leaving an equal amount, such that the div element directly lies into the middle of your browser. Then comes the background. You are defining this background. This is practically the background of the element, which is blue in nature. This is practically the background of the element. Then we are mentioning this position relative. We will see what happens if we discard this thing off. This is practically the animation name, which is known as the movement. That means we have named this animation as movement. Then comes the duration of time, which is 5 seconds. That means this whole animation, this is descending down from the top to a particular location. Then it is coming down further. It is changing its background color properties, and it is getting back to its original position, or it is reverting back to its original position. Every this kind of thing, this is practically happening over here. And the whole time consumed in this journey is 5 seconds. And this is known as the iteration count, which is set to infinite. If we, instead of iteration count setting to infinite, if we just place here 5, for say I am just placing a particular value into it, which is 5, depicted over here, and this is the thing. Now you press Ctrl S, get back to your project and reload. Now you will observe that this whole thing, the total time duration is 5 seconds. This is twice of the loop. This is thrice. This is fourth. And this is fifth. Now you can see that the animation is now paused. It is not making any more animation over here. No more descending down, no more color changing, no more width changing, no more changes in width properties. That means iteration count. If you set your iteration count into a particular value, up to that value this animation will be taking place, and then it will be pausing over there, or it will stop animating. So this is the iteration count that we are talking over here. So all I am doing now, I am just reverting it back to its original condition, pressing Ctrl S and getting back to our project and reload. Now up to this far you have understand that this is the animation property into this div element, which has a class name of diver, and animation name here is movement. Total time duration spent over here is 5 seconds, and the iteration count is set to infinite. That means this animation will continue to its loop for infinite times. Now this is the standard syntax as we have seen over here. This is the @ of keyframes that we have seen over here. Without calling this pseudo class, we cannot initiate any kind of movement, any kind of animation in this CSS3 HTML5 element. And here goes the animation name. We have set this animation name to movement over here, and the same thing we have to place here in the standard syntax, and this is known as the movement. Now this is the animation percentage that has been defined over here. What will be its condition in the initial or starting position? What will be its condition after 25%? What will be its condition after 50%? What will be the condition after 75%? That means you are just precising all these keyframes over here. You are practically setting these keyframes into 0%, 25%, 50%, 75%, and 100%. Now I have practically provided 5 keyframes over here, but you may create as many as you can. I'm sorry, that was a major glitch over there. So the stuff that we were talking about, at the 0% condition, this movement animation, it will be executing a top 0 pixel margin, a width of 100 pixels, and with a background color of this one, this blue color. But at 25% keyframe, this will be leaving a total margin of 200 pixels from the top, 200 pixels down, and it will be executing a width of 200 pixels, and it will be executing a background color of red. At 50% keyframe position from the top, this animation will execute a total margin of 500 pixels from the top, a width of 300 pixels and a background color of yellow. I'm sorry, this is the red and this is the yellow. At 75% keyframe animation, it will execute a total margin of 200 pixels from the top. That means this thing will be first coming down to 200 pixels, then it will be coming down to 500 pixels, and that will again ascend up to 200 pixels, and the width will be 200 pixels. So in this case, and the background will be turning into yellow again, as we have seen in the keyframe 2 position, as we can see over here. This is the 75% keyframe position. And at 100% condition, that means in the last keyframe we just set here that from top it will practically leave no margin. That means this animation will be executing no margin from the top. Its width will be 100 pixels and its background will be blue as it was previously. And we have just copied this thing and we have pasted them over here, and we mentioned what will be the hack codes over here, as we can see. So now if we get back to our browser and if we just press Ctrl S and if we reload, we can see that this thing is happening on over here.